Changes to several voting regulations in Alabama. The federal judge's ruling calling for those changes before the general election in November on the 3rd.
You are taking a look at just some of them now. There is no witness requirement for voters with underlying medical conditions. Loosened photo ID rules and curbside voting will also be allowed across the state.
That ruling coming just 34 days after people across the country let their voices be heard and decide the next president of the United States. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dan Schaefer.
And I'm Nasha Sherman. Tonight, we are hearing from voters in North Alabama about the changes.
WAAY 31's Casey Albritton is live at the Madison County Courthouse now with how people are responding. Casey?
The changes apply to absentee voting and were made to protect people who are at high risk for coronavirus, but there is some disagreement about how these changes could impact the election results.
And you don't have a say if you don't get out there and vote.
Voting will look very different this presidential election. The first change is absentee ballots from voters susceptible to coronavirus do not have to be witnessed or signed by a notary or two adult witnesses.
I am against that. I think that someone should have to sign that to show that they are who they say they are.
But it would be a good thing to make it easier for people who are trying to avoid being out.
The second change is voters older than 65 or with underlying medical conditions do not have to provide a copy of their photo ID with their absentee ballot application. A change many people I spoke to tonight say is not a good idea.
I don't understand the reason for them not providing their ID. I don't see that it facilitates any ease.
We're trying very hard to make sure everybody is accounted for, so kind of removing that accountability seems like a step backwards.
Joanne and Jeff Huggins are poll workers in Madison County. They say after hearing these changes, they believe election results could be skewed.
It could be that individuals will sign something and it not really be their vote.
But there is one change that voters seem to approve of: curbside voting being allowed in any county.
It seems like a good, easy alternative for people who are trying to stay, distance a little more.
You have someone that works for the courthouse or the state of Alabama to go out to the car and get the ballot, then I don't have a problem with that.
Everyone I spoke to today says voting is more important than ever before. Despite the pandemic, now absentee voting has started, or you can vote in person on November 3rd. Live in Huntsville, Casey Albritton, WAAY 31 News.
Thanks, Casey. Attorney General Steve Marshall said the state will appeal the ruling. In a statement, he said, quote, "Voting began weeks ago, and every Alabama voter is entitled to vote under the same laws, not new ones written by a federal court in the middle of voting." Secretary of State John Merrill also responding to the ruling. He said it disallows the Secretary of State from prohibiting any illegal activity known as curbside voting, undermines the integrity of the elections process and the ability of Alabamians to cast a secret ballot as the chain of custody is then broken. There are less than 3 weeks left to register to vote for the upcoming election. The deadline is October 19th. The deadline to apply for an absentee ballot is October 29th. The last day to postmark that ballot is November 2nd.